And it's especially bad the young people can't afford homes. Let me just put a very precise point on this. If you want a measure of how your economy is doing, I personally favor eliminating GDP as a measure. I don't even know what that is. It's clearly not relevant.
He's such a good communicator. I hate him. I despise him because everything he said up to this point, I almost 100% agree with, down to the GDP being like the most important factor. But the reality is,
me from saying, I think the CIA has done some horrible things, murdered a bunch of people, participated in the murder of a sitting U.S. president. It's got a whole trail of crimes. That doesn't make me a disloyal American. It doesn't make me anti-American in any sense. I was born here. My family's been here for hundreds of years. I love this country. That's why I live here. So criticizing the behavior of a government agency does not make you a hater. It makes you a free person. It makes you a citizen. You're allowed to do that because you're not a slave. You're a citizen. And you have a right to expect that your government will not act against your interests, and you have a right to demand that.
I'm so mad conservatives get to say shit like this. Nah, not a lot of conservatives, just Tucker Carlson. I think he's the most dangerous prospect for the, like, a lot of people talk about JD Vance running for office, but I think the person who will usher in an ideological, if there is another election, the person that will usher in an ideological Fourth Reich, the one thing that Trump doesn't have is like a conviction to be like a full-throated white nationalist. Tucker Carlson has that. Also a television character, as you guys know, very telegenic, much smarter than Donald Trump, much more convincing than Donald Trump. No way people hate him. What are you talking about? Tucker Carlson had the most popular news broadcast in the country. Tucker Carlson has all of the qualities of Donald Trump and also some more dangerous aspects. I think Tucker lost his sauce and fell off since leaving Fox. You are not paying attention if you think that. Tucker Carlson, despite being on independent media, still has it. Like, I thought so too. I thought when he left Fox News, I thought it's over for Tucker. Look at him. He's like doing Twitter. He's cooked. He has been able to claw back that relevance through independent media, piece by piece. He has absolutely recovered. The only thing he's missing is financial backers. Part of the reason why he was fired from Fox News, if you read the tea leaves or if you read the reports on it, was because Rupert Murdoch himself was afraid of the influence that he retained there. Rupert Murdoch was terrified of what he was capable of doing. He has not actually recovered all of the clout that he had, but very clearly, he has piece by piece picked up a lot of the pieces, and he has been able to retain a big chunk of his influence. I am telling you right now, he is a terrifying figure because unlike Donald Trump, he will go the full way with white nationalism. And he has a much better way of delivering white nationalist rhetoric in a way that Americans find palatable. If you ever listen to this fucking guy, if you ever listen to this demon, maybe I'm wrong on this, but his YouTube page has basically brought him back to life. His big interviews still pop the fuck off. He doesn't have Asmongold's level of clout and Asmongold's level of reach. Having said that, however, the type of reach that he has is very different than Asmongold. Asmongold gets the non-voters and the socially maladjusted shut-ins. Tucker Carlson's reach is still firmly within DC, firmly within those in positions of power. You've been saying this about Tucker since Trump 1.0. You're probably right, unfortunately. Yes. Tucker Carlson has tremendous staying power, and he is a media demon. Yeah, Tucker Carlson interviewed the president of Iran, dude. He interviewed the president of Iran. He interviewed Putin. He still gets RFK Jr. He did the Ted Cruz thing, obviously, as you guys know. That one banged. He is terrifying. The rapidly shifting MAGA discourse on Israel is bigger than it may seem at first. Tucker Carlson's pointing the finger at Israel's Mossad as being behind Epstein's operation is getting much attention. Although this connection is being made widely in parts of MAGA world, but the increasing split on Israel within MAGA goes well beyond anger over the Epstein files. It's been brewing over several issues: Gaza, the Iran war, and foreign aid, as well as anger over the return of neocon influence. We already know that there is a divide on Israel with the Democratic Party's base of support versus the Democratic Party's politicians. But no such major fissure has existed within the Republican Party. as a direct consequence of the evangelical base and their defense of Israel, their unconditional loyalty, support, and defense of Israel. That is also changing within the youth of the Republican Party. Tucker Carlson will turn around and use this to his advantage, and he has been. One of the many things that I've talked about with respect to Tucker Carlson in the first Trump administration was that he would, in the absence of any Democrats making left-wing populist economic messages, Tucker Carlson would fill that void on Fox News every night. He was perhaps one of the most important voices on retaining social safety nets for whites and for legacy Americans, as he says, which is a substitute for whites. And I said over and over again, if you go back to my 2016, 2017 analysis, I said, if the Democrats don't actually create a convincing and genuine left-wing populist message, a left-wing populist platform, the only people in mainstream media that are saying these things will be the likes of Tucker Carlson, because there is clearly a need for this kind of messaging. People will gravitate towards Tucker Carlson. I'm saying the same thing once again about Israel. If no mainstream Democratic voices are out there criticizing Israel, then the only people who will use the issue of Israel as a way to develop earnesty in the eyes of the voting public will be the likes of Tucker Carlson and maybe even someone as kooky as Marjorie Taylor Greene. Israel now, like anti-Israel sentiment, is now seen as a way to show how real you are. A lot of Democrats don't understand this reality. I am urging people to recognize saying that you hate Israel, even cynically, even as a mechanism to win support, is a viable outcome now. It shows you as a real anti-establishment figure. So if the field of Republican contenders and Democrat contenders are flooded with people who are unconditionally pro-Israel, screaming "Am Israel" high every day, the one person that comes out and says, nah, fuck Israel, why do we have this kind of insane, dangerous loyalty to Israel, will come across as the only earnest figure. It will be an opportunity for the likes of Tucker Carlson to basically dominate political discourse, as he is currently. This is terrifying. Matt Duss has a similar take here, says, yep, Democratic leaders have a choice. They can build a party by embracing left populists like Mamdani who are confronting these problems, or keep fighting them and watch as young people flock to right populists who are confronting these problems.
Biggest house in New York, what is that? At some point, the basic economics really matter, and they matter because not that it's bad that rich people are getting richer, it's bad that everyone else is getting poorer. And it's especially bad the young people can't afford homes. Let me just put a very precise point on this. If you want a measure of how your economy is doing, I personally favor eliminating GDP as a measure. I don't even know what that is. It's clearly not relevant. They tell me Japan has a stagnant GDP. Have you been to Tokyo? It's the single most radicalizing experience you'll ever have because it's just so nice. You lost the war? Really? Can we lose a war and wind up like this? GDP. No. I don't know what even that is. The total economic activity. Oh, no. My measure is really simple. I got a bunch of kids. Can they afford houses with full-time jobs at 27, 28? And the answer is no way. And the answer is that 35-year-olds with really good jobs can't afford a house unless they stretch and go deep into debt.
Why is it populist when leftists use material announced to provide direct relief to voters' quality of life, but not populism when centrist liberals throw around platitudes and do nothing? I mean, centrist liberals use populism as a negative term, so much so that they've invented a new term that is basically populist. But David Shore has a new term for it. It's called popularism, as in abiding by popular sentiment that is focus grouped into oblivion. That's how much they hate the term populism. They use it as a pejorative. True populism is not supposed to be a pejorative, but this is the one thing that separates neoliberals from people like myself. When they say populist, they mean it as a negative. When I say populist, I mean real left-wing populist economic theory. Okay? Concepts that are overwhelmingly popular, that uplift the working class. Liberals point to that as, oh, you just want everyone to have healthcare, or you want everyone to have a unicorn. You want everyone to have a unicorn. You're over-promising and you're not going to be able to deliver. It's not like liberals actually end up delivering on their promises either, ironically enough. Liberals don't actually end up delivering on their promises either. The problem is they also don't even promise good things. They promise less and then don't even deliver on the little amount of promises that they made. So it's spectacularly bad policy and also bad politics as well.
And I just think that's a total disaster. That's a complete disaster. Why? Two reasons. One, if people don't own things, they don't feel ownership of the country they're in. And the country gets super volatile because people feel like they've got nothing to lose. When you have a lawn, trust me, you're thinking long term. Second, it's really hard to have a family without a house. It is. It's like super fun to live in an apartment if, there's like a bar downstairs, you're in a cool neighborhood. I'm in East Village. It's so cool.
He's such a good communicator. I hate him. I despise him because everything he set up to this point, I almost 100% agree with. Down to the GDP being like the most important factor. What good is the GDP if people are suffering? I mean, he could have even made that point, not by looking at Japan, but he said Japan because he's a racist, because the hidden agenda there is Japan is a ethno-nationalist, right? Japan is like an incredibly not diverse country. He could have said Europe as well. Europe is a even closer analog to use here. Many of these European capitals, many of these European nations, technically on the GDP front, are poorer than Louisiana, for example. But you look at the quality of life in a European capital and then compare it to the quality of life for the average person living in Louisiana, you realize that GDP doesn't matter at all. It's just numbers on a board that make you feel like things are good. Why didn't he use Norway example? The reason why he doesn't use Norway either is because it's European and gay and woke. Japan is far away and not gay, nor is it woke. That's the reason why he's using Japan as an example, especially on the notion of GDP. They say the Japanese GDP is stagnant and Japanese GDP is terrible. But you look at the living standards and the living conditions of like Japan, when you have all of these social safety nets, amenities, severe degrees of regulation, and the cost of living overall, in comparison to the United States of America, it looks fantastic. Japan's problems unironically stem from something that Tucker Carlson wants to do here in the United States of America, which is xenophobic ethno-nationalist policies. Ironically enough, Japan is suffering as a direct consequence of not having any sort of immigration, not offering any sort of citizenship to people outside of Japan, because it is one of the only examples that we can point to that is as close that closely resembles an ethno-state with its own internal genocide as well, its own external colonial ambitions, and up until World War II. But anyway, up until this point, Tucker Carlson brings up incredible points, but you will see why he is an indecent, right-wing, nefarious propagandist. Let's take a look.
Try to have 3 kids. You're not going to have 3 kids there. You can't. Nobody wants to raise their kids in that neighborhood. Nobody wants to raise their kids in an apartment. People do it because they have to. Nobody wants to. People want a little house, not some McMansion, just a little normal house. That is the actual American dream. And that is what is totally unattainable for young people. And so the only young people in general that you will ever meet who have houses are young people whose parents help them. And God bless their parents. That's a perfectly great thing to do for your kids. But most people's parents can't afford to do that because they're already in debt from their pointless college degree. So that is a national emergency. And I know that there are certain cable channels that are spending all this time talking about, oh, they're about to elect a socialist in New York City, which obviously I'm opposed to it.
Yeah, here, look at what he's
not even a real socialist. He's like a trainee vax, rich kid liberal guy. Mom Donnie. He's a fake leftist, but whatever. Why do you think that's happening? One of the reasons...
Mom Donnie. I like that he also hit him with a fake leftist, by the way. Who's the real leftist, Tucker? Are you a leftist then? Guy who doesn't want any association with leftism at all. Talking about who is a real and who is a fake leftist.
It's happening is because normal people with normal jobs no longer believe they can win in this system, and that all the money is going to the worst people. And no one even stops to ask, what the hell is going on?
Yeah, so he had this take, and then here's the most insane line that he had about immigration. Tucker Carlson was asked if immigrant farm workers should get amnesty. He replied, "That's the most grotesque thing I've ever heard."
Okay, your mom does too. Any questions? Yes, sir. What do I think about amnesty for farm workers? I think it's the most grotesque thing I've ever heard. Are you joking? Amnesty for farm workers? We have like 60 million illegal aliens in the country.
60 million. That's got to be just a number of like Hispanic people, I think. The Hispanic population is like, what, 69 million, give or take? That's what he means, right? 60 million, dude. Yeah. Or 65 million is the number of the Hispanic population on U.S. soil. Maybe he's just saying like 4 of those or 5 of those 65 million are like white Hispanics so they can stay, like from Spain.
The country bears no resemblance to the country I grew up in, and it's not better, it's worse.
Yell at Tucker.
So I'm not going to sit for another lecture from anybody telling me we need to import more people to write code or pick grapes or any other task. Period. It hasn't worked. The country hasn't gotten richer. It hasn't become more unified. Those words should...
I mean, this is the honest conclusion of Trump's anti-immigrant agenda. Because what's the difference between an undocumented non-citizen and a documented one? It's paperwork. And if undocumented migrants are not responsible for the crimes that Trump claims they're committing, then what is the real reason why you want to deport them? What is the real reason? If they're just contributors to the U.S. economy, just like you and me, if they're even more meaningful, in some instances, more meaningful contributors to the U.S. economy, to agricultural output, then what is the one thing that you are seeing that is different about them than someone like yourself, someone like Tucker Carlson? It is the color of their skin. Like, that is the major difference. They're black and brown. Tucker Carlson considers them to be inferior.
Burn on the tongue of anyone who utters them. How dare you talk like that? Amnesty. How about deportation? What about that? I mean, look, and let me just say, people say all kinds of things. It doesn't mean it's happening, but I think it's worth being a little paranoid about it. I mean, I think everyone in this room is paranoid. It's important to make sure even the people you love are true to their word. Doesn't mean you hate them. Again, I don't take my kids I love my kids more than anything. I don't automatically believe everything they tell me because I'm not a moron. Because I understand that people don't always say the truth. So, but anyway, yeah, any kind of amnesty is not only a bad idea, it's like outrageous. Anyway, sorry, I've been told.
Like, think about how angry he is at this. Like, we know he's racist, but why is he this racist is the question one must ask. Is he actually that racist? I think he doesn't give a shit one way or another. He's auditioning for what he thinks is going to be the most important position that a right-wing presidential candidate can take in the upcoming election.